Hello, this video is going to look at taxes. We're going to consider consumer surplus, producer surplus, and the deadweight loss. So we'll start here with a market, and we're going to ask a number of questions on it. And the first question we'll ask is, what is the per unit tax? The per unit tax is going to be given by this wedge right here between the demand and supply curve, and that vertical distance is 11 minus 5 or $6. So that is a per unit tax. You could imagine a supply curve is cutting through this point right here, parallel to the blue supply curve. I'm just leaving it out, makes the diagram a little bit cleaner. What price do consumers pay because of the tax? Well, consumers will pay more in the face of the tax, so consumers are going to pay $11. Okay, at one time, without the tax, they paid $7, but now they're paying $11. And what price, net of taxes, do producers receive because of the tax? So producers get less in the face of the tax, and in this case they're getting $5 per unit, where at one time, without taxes, producers were getting $7. Some other questions. What is the consumer tax burden? The consumer tax burden, or what amount of the tax is paid by consumers, is going to be the difference between what consumers are paying in the face of the tax, $11, and what they once paid, $7. So 11 minus 7 is $4. That's the amount of this tax that consumers are paying. And what is the producer tax burden, or how much of the tax is paid by producers? At one time, producers received $7. Now they're only receiving $5. So producers are paying $2 of the tax in the form of lower prices. 4 plus 2 gets us at this $6 per unit tax. Let's also ask, what is the equilibrium quantity in the face of the tax? It's just going to be 9, where without the tax, the equilibrium quantity was 13. So the tax caused this market to shrink. And then finally, let's consider consumer surplus, producer surplus, and these other things without taxes, with taxes, and then we'll consider the change. So with no tax, the equilibrium price is 7 and the quantity is 13. Consumer surplus is going to be this big triangle, A, B, and E. The difference between the price without the tax and the demand curve, okay, all the way up to that last unit sold. So A, B, and E is consumer surplus. Producer surplus is going to be the difference between the price without taxes and the supply curve all the way up to, again, 13 units. So we got C, D, and F representing producer surplus. There is no government taxes taking place right now, so this is just none. And total surplus, just adding everything up in this column here, A through F. When there's a tax in the market, consumers pay more. Consumers are paying $11, so we're going to use $11 now to calculate consumer surplus. So it would be the area between the height of the demand curve and $11 up to the 9th unit here, so just area A. And consumers lose area B and E in terms of consumer surplus. Consumers are paying more and buying less. Consumer surplus shrinks. Producer surplus will be the difference between what producers are now netting in the face of the tax is $5 and the supply curve all the way up to this last unit. So area D is producer surplus. Government revenue is going to be the size of the tax times the number of units being taxed. So the size of the tax is 11 minus 5 or 6. And the number of units being taxed is 9. So this rectangle here, B and C, this rectangle B and C is government tax revenue. Total surplus then is A, B, C, and D. Looking at some of these changes here then, producers lose C and F, the government gains revenue of B and C, and then just doing the final accounting, some of the government's gain in revenue offsets the consumer's loss here. Some of the gain in government revenue area C offsets the producer loss, but nobody gets E and F. E and F would be the deadweight loss, this triangle right here, the difference between the height of the demand curve and the supply curve for these units between 9 and 13. Okay, I hope you found this video helpful.